everyone. Come in the room. I'm about to share to my phenomenal STEMist. I'm so excited about this interview. Hopefully, as soon as I see this come on Facebook. All right, all right. It's the phenomenal STEMist. Come on in the room, guys. There you go. I have a esteemed author, tech developer, cloud architect, Joshua Walker. I'm so excited. How are you, Joshua?
Same here. I'm great. Thanks for having me on, Dr. Byfield. I
Please.
love all the stuff you're doing, so great to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. I'm all in phenomenal STEMist, and we're gonna get right to it. Uh Hello everyone. I see people joining. Before I do that, I just want to talk about just one little thing. Remember, in order to prepare your students for a phenomenal career in STEM, get that book, Phenomenal STEMist. It's on Amazon. Feel free to find it anywhere. You can go to my website. You can go to my website and click the link. If you're in the Orlando area, of course, you could just contact me personally. I'll get it for you. But that's the homework we have for today. I want to really, really get into this interview with Joshua Tech Dev Walker. I like that. Am I pronouncing it right? Tech Dev Walker.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
All right. Before I ask my first question, Jonathan, I mean, sorry, sorry, Jonathan, Joshua, do me a favor and just introduce yourself to me. Tell me exactly about your background. Like, what is your discipline, and when did you fall in love with your discipline?
Yeah. So Joshua Detective Walker, and the reason I use like that moniker is not because of thinking I'm like all that or anything. It's just my mom blessed me with a really common name, so you would never be able to find me on the internet otherwise, because there's like 700 other Joshua Walkers. So
Right.
yeah. So I people always wonder why I have like a moniker. That's why. Um, but yeah, I'm a cloud solutions architect. I've been in the field for 5+ years now. I was in tech before that, but I was in like full stack development before. And if you're new to cloud computing is just really the new wave of information technology. So whereas before businesses would basically have to buy these servers and stock them in their own business, and that's how they ran their like software and applications. Now we're just leasing, the latest and greatest from Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, just to name a few. And how I really got into this field was serendipity. So, like I said, I was in tech previous, and my background is a little bit different as well because I'm self-taught cloud engineer, and I was self-taught when I got into the industry. So, all my degrees were in music because I was an audio engineer before I got into tech. But through on-demand training and really getting active in the Orlando tech scene, I was able to break through. But how I got into cloud was I was actually working on formally becoming a data scientist, and I was doing some like classes at like John Hopkins, and just really just frequenting in like the community. And one of the folks that was like he had a startup that he was starting, and it was all data driven, and he was like, have you ran any of your statistical models and all that stuff in AWS? And at the time I had a friend who had spoke about AWS probably like a year prior, but it was kind of like over my head at that time. But then I went back, did a bunch of research, and I was like, actually I think I like this a lot better than data science. And not to be funny, but I mean, you could probably identify Dr. Byfield. A lot of the like the PhD community can be kind of a little like pinky up sometimes. So I'm just hanging with like the computer science folks, and like the IT guys that are like everyone's in a suit and they show up with like a neck tat and a bunch of stickers on a computer. I was like, I kind of fit in here a lot better. So um, I ended up being in life sciences and healthcare, which is all big data driven. So I'm still in the arena, but just in a different facet. But that was a long-winded way of saying how I got in, but it was really just like going towards one thing and then seeing a bigger opportunity and pivoting. And I think it's one of the best decisions I made for sure.
I love your story in that you did not go to school for computers at all. You went to school, got your bachelor's, I think your master's in like audio engineering, music,
Yeah,
entertainment, and
yeah,
you taught yourself everything through boot camps. I'm sure
yeah,
we can get into that a little later, but like if there's anything about tech, the T in STEM, you literally can find opportunities to train yourself, get trained in short amounts of times, and get certifications and be
Yeah,
very usable quickly. So serendipity can happen very easily. I believe in tech.
agreed.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
might not be. It's not. I don't think you can serendipitously. It might be difficult to become a OBGYN serendipitously, though that story
yeah,
is. I've
yeah,
heard, like, my
yeah,
friend who's a dentist, she was going thinking about medical school, but then she changed into a dentist. But she wasn't in medical school before. You understand?
yeah, yeah,
Uh, but here it's very feasible. See people joining,
yeah,
so I just want to make sure I welcome everybody. Hey guys, those who are watching, just say hi in the chat so I can see who's here. All right, so you fell in love with your discipline as an old guy. You were
yeah.
quote unquote old. You're not old to me, right?
Yeah, I was like in my 20s, but I
Mhm.
felt old because of I was in the military too, so my body was old, but I was still young. Hello.
All right,
So,
right. Awesome. I love your story. Okay, so here's the second question. What tools did you use to discipline yourself to succeed? So like you're literally training yourself in I've tried to teach myself coding. I think it was Code Academy or some. My head hurt after like the first 2 weeks. I said, "You know what? This is not. I can't. My head started. How did you discipline yourself to teach yourself this complex programming?"
so it was a combination of things. I always say a big catalyst is getting involved in the community. So, because I was very transparent and I was able to pick up a lot of like mentors that they honestly shaved a lot of time, like off of my journey by just telling me like, hey, focus on this instead of that, that type of thing. But what I did and what I kind of teach everyone, whether it's in Black Orlando Tech or just in passing, is that it's just consistently doing it every day. So what I would do is I would basically set a very like aggressive goal. So if a course was like 20 hours long, then I would do that time 60 minutes and say like, how do I get this completed in whatever the time zone was, and then I would make sure I did those lessons every day at the same time every day. And when I first got started, I became kind of like obsessed with it, and like I would, I had a 9 to 5 and a family already by then. So I would like literally just get off of work, eat dinner. Once everyone was ready to go to bed, I would just stay up, for hours
Wow.
and just work on it. So that really was it, was consistency. And to this day, I'm always like learning something new, and it's all based on like me just keeping a schedule. To be honest, like working on working on it even when you don't feel like it, I think is what my biggest advice is. Like, even if you worked on it 15 minutes per day, it'd be better than you binge learning for like 4 hours and then not coming back to it for 2 weeks. So,
That's a
um,
powerful discipline, and it's I put myself on a schedule, and I tell students also like do something just 1 hour a day every day versus binging it.
yes,
It's
yes,
very difficult to retain a binge.
yes,
You can over a long period of time, like you said, 15 minutes every day, or
yeah,
just make sure you just do it a little bit in that day versus just try to not do it for 2 days straight and then try to binge. It's not
yeah.
helpful, and I love that you said that. I love that you said that. Okay. So, what were your challenges in school or in training?
Hmm.
What would be your challenges to becoming a cloud solutions architect?
There's a so there's like the technical challenges, but then there's like the social challenges too. So like, I think internally it was hard to gauge if I knew enough, because like if you're at least in computer science class or you're in a boot camp, you have like your peers or your instructors to kind of like validate like what you're talking about. So um, but how I fought against that was I worked with a lot of the startups in the community, and I didn't charge them anything. I basically had like I was working with them at an accelerator, and they gave them like cloud credits, which is basically like AWS money at the time. And like I basically said, pay me in like free resources, and I'll help you build like your POC. or your proof of concept. So we're not using acronyms,
Yeah, yeah,
which is just like a proof of concept is just like you're building it to validate that it's a good idea or that you should move forward. Um, so that's one challenge. I say when you're self-taught as well, at the time it was kind of taboo to not have a computer science degree. So it was like really also validating to like an employer that you know what you're talking about. And like usually even though computer science isn't always like a good gauge of knowledge, it's something everyone understands. So and last but not least, just and it would be weird not to bring this up, just being a black professional in tech, along with those other things, you know, just having like you're going to have additional barriers and there's kind of
mhm.
no way around it. um, I didn't. It wasn't a thing where I wear like a chip on my shoulder. I was just aware that that exists and that you know I was gonna come into that. So those were probably the biggest things. But to be honest, what I tell everyone, like if you focus on just having fun and doing it for passion, like just because you love it, like all that you can kind of fight through all that stuff. You can fight through technical issues. You can fight through gatekeepers. You can fight through pretty much anything if you love the field that you're trying to get into.
If
And
you
that's
love
what
it.
happened. Like yeah, like no one could stop me because I would get into these rooms and because I was so obsessed about it, I knew more than they did. So I mean, you do that enough times, then someone's gonna want to hire you. So
Someone's gonna if you know more than most, somebody of need is going to hire you. What you said
yeah,
was pivotal because what I know that you started this nonprofit called Black Orlando Tech, and which hosts a lot of boot camps. So that makes me feel I've just realized you didn't even have boot camps. So you literally
yeah,
taught yourself. Like you're providing
yeah,
boot camps for people behind you. So I really give you credit and the other founders. So when you started this, you took online courses basically?
yeah. So to give a like I could tell I took online courses and I would also go to a lot of meetups. So
Okay.
there's a there's different forms of meetups now, but if you go to meetup.com, which is you spell it just the way you say it's one word, there's usually depending on what city you're in. If you're in Orlando, they had a bunch of like free stuff every week. Even with the pandemic, it's starting to come back now. But like a lot of those sessions helped me too because you would basically have someone that's the best in their field come and show you like, hey, I built this thing and this was the logic that went into it. But then a lot of it was on demand courses. What I give the advice I give on demand is a lot of times you can blindly follow along with whoever's teaching. Whereas like I would always take that time to pause and say and be really honest with myself. Like, do I understand what
Do
they
I
said?
understand? Yeah.
So that definitely my advice on demand is it's like a give and take where you don't want to just regurgitate what you learned from somebody else. So
I love it, but I want you to know, guys, I want you to understand that even without a degree at the university level, it is possible, but you have to be very, 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 very diligent, and you have to be very humble. When sometimes when students teach themselves, they teach themselves the things that they already understand,
yeah,
and they leave the things that they don't understand to the wayside all the time, and then that's what they get tested on, right? But
yeah,
you had to, "Hey, Tone, how are you?" Yeah, you had to literally wow, I'm really, really impressed. So let me ask you a question. Tell me a little bit more. Please break it down a little bit more. What is a cloud solutions architect? What is AWS? This cloud thing. What I think. I'll tell you what I think about cloud. I
yeah,
think OneDrive, Google Drive is like I save stuff and I put it in this big storehouse that stores all my stuff I don't
hmm
know where they're storing it, but it's not being stored on my computer.
yeah.
That's the only thing I know about the cloud. Can you explain to me what the cloud is and what cloud solution
Yeah,
architect is?
yeah, and you're not wrong. I mean, that is a good implementation of the cloud. So, really, I mean, this is kind of a IT joke, but it's really just someone else's computer. So it's um, like so Amazon has these like very big facilities all over the world of these supercomputers basically, and you're renting either space or the resources that they've built. So a good example of it is like well, let me think of like a novel idea, like a website. So if you wanted to build a website on AWS, you could basically store like your documents there. They have a service for that. If you wanted to put, you know, a WordPress site on a server, they got a service for that. So really, the cloud is just it's making it so that you can scale with your business. Whereas before, when in traditional IT, you had to do like big forecast and like you would have either two scenarios that pretty much played out every time. You would either buy too much compute and like you basically overspent, or even worse, you grew too fast and you ran out, and then you have to like, you know, rush and try and buy all these machines and all that stuff. So what it's doing for you is it's doing a bunch of stuff, but I think the simplest way to put it is you're borrowing like the like cloud is what powers the internet and software, and you're borrowing the latest and greatest from Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. So you're
Mhm.
putting the burden on them. They have, you know, within these resources they guarantee a certain amount of availability, like, and then like if you're a startup and say you're doing a POC, you're using like their free tier, which all of them have, and then you get funding. Now you're ready to scale your business. You can scale tonight. You know, you don't have to, you know, wait months and buy all your equipment, all that stuff. You're ready to go.
Because
So
you can
hopefully that
use
explains
their
it.
computer
Yeah,
'cause
exactly,
because you can use
exactly,
their space instead of using information on your computer, which will run out of space, and you have to buy 10,000 computers. Why waste all that
exactly,
time
exactly,
and that money?
exactly.
Just use. Wow. Okay. So, what is a solutions architect? I
Okay,
got
yeah.
I got
So
a lot
what
of
I do,
techie guys tonight. I got hey Courtney, Tone. They're all techie guys. They're watching you. Go ahead.
yeah. So for my job is I help strategize on one. I do like vendor assessments. So where I run into, because I work with a lot of like enterprise clients. Not every cloud is the right cloud for that client. So they might need VMware, they might need AWS, they might need Azure, they might need Google Cloud. So doing that vendor assessment, because on the core services they all do similar things, but then when it comes to kind of specialty things, if it's like big data or artificial intelligence, then a vendor might do something better than their competitor. So that's number one. I help them with like that decision tree of what cloud provider they should work on, and that's also based on their staff sometimes too. Like if you're a full Microsoft shop, I don't want to push you on Amazon because everything's going to be super foreign to your internal team. So that's
Because
one, the strategy.
Microsoft uses Azure, right? I have a
Yeah,
little bit of
correct.
knowledge on it. Okay, so okay, go ahead.
And then so the next thing is I help a lot with like pricing, so and cost optimization. So where we know a solution, or actually I'll back up. After that, it would be architecting the solution. So figuring out what your business goals are, and not just saying like, because a lot of times clients will come with an architecture and they'll say we think we want to do this. And as a cloud solutions architect, I'm here to say like, hey, have you considered this? Or maybe it'd be you would save some money or resources if you did this. So really just helping architect the solution as a whole, and then from there like helping them price it out. So saying like, hey, if not for like the labor of like us doing the work, but like how much is this going to cost for you to actually run your business for the year or for 3 years, and doing like a forecast based on like usage patterns. um, and then last but not least, really is on the back end of just like helping them optimize. So there's usually two types of clients. They either come in and they've never done cloud before, and so they kind of just want you to come in and run the show. But then there's a lot of clients that they've done a lot of stuff, but then like they need help with a very specialized area like Kubernetes or serverless, and like this is like a new frontier for them, and they need like a specialist that understands that in and out. So what a cloud solutions architect does is literally just helps you architect your software around a business need within one of the cloud providers. So
Yeah, it sounds like you're a strategic planner. I guess architects are the people who draw plans for buildings, right? That's what an architect
yeah,
is. So what
yeah,
I'm feeling is you're basically helping businesses plan out who to use, which vendor to use, because sometimes they want, like, let's say data driven, and like they want to make a decision about a
Yes.
consumer, and they want to know who's going to come to my shop more. So we may have to use a cloud that involves predictions. Like, oh,
Yes.
I predict that this amount of people are going to come to your store. So you should, this type of cloud vendor is better for that need. And you like help them plan it all out because
Correct.
because you understand all of those cloud people. You understand Amazon, you understand Azure with Microsoft, you understand Google. So I guess the
Correct.
first thing is you have to have a good understanding of all of those cloud organizations.
Yeah, and that's like and that didn't happen overnight. So if I
Right.
give advice to anyone starting in cloud, you would want to pick one vendor. So I started with AWS, but then as new opportunities came for clients, then I studied up on Google Cloud, and then from there I got into Azure, and then I was thrown on a VMware project because, like I said, a lot of the core services are the same, but then
Mhm.
you like the space I'm in, I work for clients, so you kind of go where they're at, and I think that's been great. Sometimes that scares people, but I like the variety of like, got to stay on my toes. Like I kind of got to know a decent amount about all of them because that's it's my job to do so. So
Okay, I have a good understanding of a cloud architect. What are your
awesome.
challenges? Like,
My
what's the tough
challenge is
part?
really just keeping up, like and no joke, like AWS creates, or just AWS as an example, but all of the big cloud providers, they release a few new services per week. So if you can imagine, like you're just like by the time you've studied up on something and maybe did a POC, maybe 20 new services are out. Maybe you're not going to use half of them, but maybe you have to. So it's that's the biggest challenge is keeping up with the wave. So
That's why I'm a biological scientist, Joshua. Evolution does not happen for a long time. Like, cellular respiration 20 years ago is still cellular respiration today. But so
no, you're
that's why
right. Yeah,
I feel that you're the good fit for it because you taught yourself, you were willing to constantly quickly learn. But it's
yeah,
hard. It's hard to have to keep up.
yeah,
So just those of you who want to be in tech, just know that you can't just learn something and then feel like I'm done. Like, you have to
yeah.
consistently learn. Okay, okay. And so what's the favorite part of your career?
My favorite part is really just like solving hard problems because, like, um, I think one of the most rewarding things I've ever done was during the height of the pandemic. Like I said, I work mainly in life sciences and healthcare. You can imagine, like, stuff was crazy. Like, the cloud adoption went through the roof. But what I liked was that pretty much anything we were working on at that time was to combat the virus. So, and I picked healthcare on purpose when I started as a cloud engineer, but like that was my favorite thing of being like everything I'm doing right now matters, and you can't say that for every field or every job. So I also love the flexibility of it. So like I've gotten to travel, like I went to India. I've been to other countries, all bunch of places in the U.S. I've never would have went otherwise, and it was all for tech. So
Mm.
and then I work remote as well. Like I was remote like almost 2 years before even the pandemic hit. So just having that flexibility to, do laundry in the middle of the day or do some dishes, like just
Ah,
having that flexibility. So
right?
yeah.
Awesome. 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 I love these good opportunities for you. So I have a question on here from Tone. He says, "What about bandwidth with the cloud?" I don't know what the question is. Do you understand what he means by what about
Yeah,
bandwidth?
yeah. Yeah, it's virtually unlimited. Like for one, there's a so you have like the general services that you have where you're sharing basically a server with others. But if even if you're worried about like I don't want to basically share an apartment building with other people, like in this is an analogy with the server, you can even do like a dedicated tenant, like where you basically have your own server at Amazon. But like even though, and I've been on like massive projects, I've never seen like if there's a bandwidth issue is because we architected it wrong, not because Amazon ran out of
You
bandwidth,
have a
if that makes any
room.
sense. Yeah.
So I mean, is there at there's room at infinitum? You like there's no fear of running out of
So
space.
not really, to be honest, because there's some fields that are pushing the bar, like with like cryptocurrency and blockchain. They're eating up more resources than a normal app. But for even like the big, like I'm talking thousands of server applications, like I've never ran into a thing where Amazon was like, "Who, I don't think we have that." Like they're building at such a rapid rate, far as like the power of their servers, how they're utilizing compute. Like they're they're like far ahead of us on like where you would hit like a ceiling. So
Okay, they're far ahead of us. They're far ahead of
yeah.
us. Okay, I love that. So I do want to segue just to one more question, and I want you to tell me a little bit about Black Orlando Tech, because I'm seeing a lot of tech professionals, black males especially, online right now with me, and I want you to just introduce what Black Orlando Tech is and how they can be a part.
Yes. So Black Orlando Tech is an organization that I founded almost 6 years ago, with a few other founders. And essentially, we created Black Orlando Tech out of necessity. So at the time, like I said, I was going to so many like meetups and events, and I really saw like the same Black people there every single time. And so, like Mike Felix and a few others approached me, and they were like, "Hey, we want to basically, solve this problem." So we sat down at a coffee shop, and like we put some raw ideas, and we started as like a monthly meetup where we wanted to just train and inspire. So we brought in speaker, which we still do to this day. We bring in speakers from all over the city, all over the country, and sometimes from all over the world, as we've had some speakers from like the UK. Um, but what our like systemic goal is to bring in 10,000 net new Black professionals into technology by 2025. And thanks to like a lot of the city funding and stuff we've got, I think we're going to hit that goal and hopefully smash that goal. And kind of, so we have really three legs for Black Orlando Tech. One is what we started with is our training arm. So we have our 8 week cohorts, which are way more affordable than pretty much anything else that's in the same ball game. Like, and I used to be the cloud computing lead when we first started. And basically, you work with a no fluff instructor like myself, who's going to only teach you what he's doing on the job or she's doing on the job. Like Tiffany was the who was like our former executive director. She is like a Salesforce guru, and like one of the highest Salesforce gurus there is. She taught the Salesforce cohort. So we would basically take someone from an zero to an entry level job in our field, and we would also help with any job placement as well. And if we can get vouchers for certs, we would help with that as well. So that's one arm. Then we have our tech startup series for entrepreneurs, and that's all the way from anybody that's like, I have a raw, idea on a napkin, to like, I just need funding, like everyone in between, just helping Black professionals get their business off the ground and arming them with the right resources and lessons on how do they scale their business. And then the third arm, which is the newest arm that we're working on funding right now, is we're doing a big data project, for really to put pressure on the public and private sector. And it's called the Bot Data Bridge, where we're going to be using public and private data sets to basically highlight where the city and other orgs can help. Because I think a lot of times when you're like the only org like Bot pretty much in Central Florida, everyone's like, "Hey, how do we help?" And then there's so many answers to that question. We basically want to graph on like literally on a map and say, based on these weights, this area needs help the most right now, and like really kind of put pressure on, like, if you say you want to help Bot, we want to have a very clear ask on how you can do that. So that's a little bit about Black Orlando Tech. We're gaining a lot of traction. Our monthly meetup starts back again. I forgot what date it is this month, but if you go on, I think on Eventbrite, and type in Black Orlando Tech, we have an event coming up at the end of this month. So yeah, so
Thanks so much,
bots.
Joshua. You have a book out as well. I want you to plug your book because you use that
Oh
book to
yeah.
really promote that.
My book is called Venti Fried Chicken. It's based on really my existence, to be honest, because everyone asks like where the name come from. Is really I was at my grandma's house, which I feel like is like my life hub. Like if I'm like really like exhausted in life, I can just go there and kind of recharge. And I think most black people feel that way about their grandparents' house. But like I was, they had like some leftover like fried chicken, and but then I'm also like a bougie Starbucks drinker, so like sitting there and looking at those two things next to each other, I was like, this is my existence. Like I'm authentically black and authentically myself wherever I'm at, but I'm also like on the bleeding edge of technology and a leader in my field. So Venti Fried Chicken is really just like uh, a representation of a lot of us that are we exist in all these worlds at once, and we should what makes us unique and powerful is existing in these these different planes
Absolutely.
all at once. So
Facts, facts. Oh my gosh, this has been an awesome interview. I thank you so much. One more question from the audience. Any government contracting with Black Orlando Tech?
we're working on that now. So we've been making a lot of connections in the like the DoD space. So I'll say coming soon. We definitely what we're trying to do is we're trying to do it correctly. So the issue is with government contracts or anything in that realm, they have so many like rules, regulations, and a way of the road to do it, but no one kind of tells you how to do that. They just
Right.
they just tell you no. So what we're trying to do is line up like if you're trying to get in this space, do A, B, C, D, and that's how you get to the money. We're definitely working on that.
Awesome, awesome. Listen, thank you so much, Joshua Tech Dev Walker. This has been an awesome interview. I hope this podcast really, really explained to all of you out there how you can become a cloud solutions architect. I am the phenomenal STEMist, and so is he. So is he. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Byfield.
Thank you so much, Josh.